Hello, welcome to Air Cool Performance. My name is Wayne Calderaro. I am the Harley Doctor, and today we have a guest mechanic with us, my grandson Silas.
Hello.
Born on my birthday. So he's here to help Pappy today to make sure we do this right, right?
Right.
All right, so yesterday, we started talking about the main shaft components and stuff on the 4-speed transmission. So we're going to finish that up today, and we're going to actually sub-assemble part of this that has to go together before we can put it in the transmission case. So of course there's the transmission main shaft. This is the 65 to I think 80 or something like that. This is the next to the very longest shaft. There's one more that's a little bit longer for the belt drive shovel heads and so forth, like the Sturgis, like my Sturgis has got that. And then there's the shorter version. I think maybe two shorter versions, but there's at least one shorter version. That's for the kickstart only 6-bolt. All right, so we've got our main shaft here. This is first and second gear cluster. If something I would like you to notice on here, if you can see in here, there is some bluing, what's called high spot blue. And I'll show you what that was for in just a minute. All right, well then, what we're gonna do now is you take your cluster gear, and that should fit just like that on that shaft. It doesn't always fit like that. Sometimes you have to stone it or whatever, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, so now that we've got that, the next thing that's going to go on here is this is third gear. This is your main shaft third gear. This is the thrust washer. Remember the thrust washer with the little notches in it. All right, that goes on here and it registers in that spline. And then you have your main drive gear or fourth gear. So there's your fourth gears on the main shaft. First, second, third, and fourth, okay? All right, so now, the reason for the bluing. Third gear, a lot of times, and if you look here, you can see where there's some bluing still on this gear. And what that's from is, that was a good save, wasn't it? Yeah. What that's from is this surface right here, this gear was too thick from here to here. So we have a surface grinder, and what we do is we will put this together in a loose assembly, tighten it up, and then we take our gear and we fit it to here, and we make sure that it'll spin and not lock up when we have our thrust washer and our third gear snap ring. So it's very important that you set this up first, because once you get this together and it's in the transmission and you're trying to assemble it for the final time, you don't want to think, well, my third gear is too tight. It's got to be to where it doesn't have any movement side to side, but it has to spin free like that. That's what you want. So that's where we're at with that. So now we're going to take this off, and before, the reason why we blew this is we have a surface grinder, and we will grind this surface here, or whatever surface, in this case it's this surface, till we get the right fit to where it's kind of in the middle of the tolerance range. That's what you want. You don't want it on the high side or the low side. You want it in the middle. So that's what we try to shoot for, and it has to feel good. It has to feel good. So it does. All right. So now we're back to this part right here. So we've got our cluster on there. So then the next thing that we've got to put on there, if you recall, in our last video we were talking about this bearing, and you can see how it has this depression around here. And like I said, I believe what that's from is from where it was put on with an impact socket. Impact socket of that size for an 1 3/8 nut is going to be pretty big with a thick wall. You can imagine it's the impact socket. So I believe that's what caused that. And because it pushed this cover in here, this bearing is now notchy. And so it was like that from brand new. So it was compromised from day one. So we're going to do it a little bit different than that. So that bearing fits in this housing. If you remember seeing this housing is what fits into the case itself. So we've already pressed this bearing into this housing. That's this bearing here. And if you'll notice, there's no damage on here. That's the way it's supposed to be, right like that. Roger? Right. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to place this bearing over here and get it onto the main shaft. Get it to where it fits like so. And we're just going to we're going to hit on this inside race right here. This inside race, this small piece right here, that inside race is above the seal part and above the outside of the bearing. So we're not going to be hitting on that or on the cover. We're going to be tapping on the inner race. So as you can see, we're just going to sit there, and there it goes. That's all it takes, folks. You don't have to horse this stuff around. All right, well then the next order of business for this thing is we're going to have to put this lock tab on. And this lock tab has 3 little locating tabs. And what that does is that fits into the spline of the main shaft. So that goes on here like so. And whenever we took this transmission apart, whoever put this together before never put one of those on there. You have to have that. So now this is our lock nut for the bearing. So we're going to put him on here. Make sure that it goes on there free. This is another time a good thing to where, like when you're putting this stuff together like this, if you go to put a nut or something on one of these shafts and it doesn't fit on there right, if it hangs up, now's the time to address that. You don't want to try to address that when you got your transmission ready to be assembled and this is not ready. So we've got that assembled so far. So now the next order of business is I've got to tighten this nut. In order to do that, I'm going to have to go over here and put it in the vise and we'll do that, and we'll get this good and snug, and then we'll secure these lock tabs. And these lock tabs, if you look and see, the flat part of the lock tab is going to have to line up with one of the flats on this nut. You can't do it on one of the corner parts because it won't hold it. So we'll put this in the vise, we'll tighten her up, and let's see what happens. See how it looks. Get over here to where you can see where we're at. There. And we're just going to put just enough tension on this just to hold it in place. We've got our 1 3/8 wrench. We're going to tighten this down. Just about there, just a little bit. All right, I think that's going to be perfect right there. Does that look straight to you?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. All right, so now we'll get back over here. So what we've done is we've tightened up this nut and we have this lock tab here. Now, what you have to be careful with on these lock tabs is when you go to pry them up, you don't want to put pressure on this dust cover. You'll have the same thing that they had before from the big impact socket. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to barely, with this screwdriver, we're going to start raising the corner of this lock tab up just a little bit at a time. Get it here, and once I get it where you can see it. Now we have just started raising that lock tab up, and we've done that with this small thin screwdriver in order to get under there because we don't want to damage this seal, this cover. So now we'll take a slightly larger and we'll come in here and we're going to start bending that up. Bending that up a little bit. Now, as you can see, we've disturbed that and bent that up, and it's ready to go against that flat. How we're going to do that is you take your channel locks and we're going to grab a hold of it like so, and then we're just going to squeeze that down, and now we've got that lock tab against the flat, a full flat on this nut. So that's what we want. and our bearing is still nice and free. So that's what we're wanting to have right there. So now what we've got to do is we'll go ahead and build up the main drive gear and get it ready. And then as soon as we do that, we'll be able to fit this into the case. And then after that, then we'll have our starter clutch gear, the starter clutch, and then of course this spring is what keeps it engaged and disengaged whenever you use the kicker pedal. So, all right, well that's what we wanted to show you tonight. Was we wanted to get the sub-assembly of the main shaft built, get the bearing and all in there, get to everything where it should be, and then when we go to put this in, then we have our bearing retainer plate, and it will go right against there like so, and that's what keeps it into the transmission. So we'll share that with you when we get to that point. So again, we're doing this piecemeal a little bit at a time. That way you can see exactly what's going on, and you'll be able to not have to go through 2 hours worth of video to see this certain part. So anyway, I hope you like that. Special thanks to my grandson Silas for coming out and helping me today. And you know, if you would please like and subscribe, we would definitely appreciate that. And also the main thing is always make sure to make God part of your day. You'll be glad that you did. Thanks for watching. Bye.